Hey folks, Mark here from Technologists for the Public Good. On his first day in office, President Trump signed an executive order titled Establishing and Implementing the President's Department of Government Efficiency, creating DOGE. DOGE wasn't created from scratch, though. It took over an office that had already existed and that had, for the past decade, been behind some of the most incredible successes in government's digital service delivery, the U.S. Digital Service. While they kept the original acronym, now calling it the U.S. DOGE Service, members of the original U.S. Digital Service left or were forced out, a wave of departures that culminated in the group resignation of over 20 digital service experts. In mid-February, Kate Green, an engineer with USDS who had departed just before the election, met up with her former peers to discuss what to do about the situation. They decided to speak up and rapidly launched We the Builders, a platform on which they would post their retorts and takes on the works of DOGE. I recently sat down with Kate Green to not only hear about We the Builders, but also to hear about her own story and her career journey. A quick note before we get into it. If you're not yet a member of Technologists for the Public Good, consider becoming one today. Members get access to the full interview, plus can join us for a live Q&A with Kate Green just a few weeks after this recording goes live. Members also get access to a range of other benefits, including a member-only discussion platform, plus they can help us in supporting this great field of public interest technologists. Kate Green's a member, and you can become one too. Now, let's dive into it. I guess the first place to start is just, how are you? I know that
Happy week.
Yes, it's October 3rd. We are 3 days into the 2025 government shutdown. As a connector, as a community builder, you're connected to a lot of folks who are seeing this firsthand. You're experiencing it. Obviously, living in the DMV area, you're seeing the effects from neighbors and community folks. So just how are you doing? What are you seeing right now?
It's hard to separate what you feel from what you're actually seeing, and trying to focus on what I'm seeing is hard because I work remotely. So I'm in my office with people. I'm a contractor, so I'm working with people in the government, and I'm okay. I'm pushing through. It's not the best time. Nobody feels comfortable.
Yeah.
Part of my job is working with customers that they don't know what's going to happen to them. And some of them are essential, some of them have disappeared. And that's the way of this. Uncertainty everywhere.
Yeah.
You're feeling it too, I'm sure.
Totally. Yeah. Folks around us are all seeing, I guess the writing has been on the wall for a long time, but especially right now with the shutdown as a tool. I was just talking with my neighbors outside right before you got here that they're feeling like pawns in the middle of all of this.
We all.
I know, yeah.
And it feels like I'm being moved around on a board. And I'm like a tiny little player. And we all are. But you want to feel like you can move yourself. And I don't know that, that's part of the struggle right now is how much can we? Is that the everyday struggle of being human? But also, some days it just doesn't feel quite this unmoored.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned separating how you're feeling from what you're seeing. What are the things that you're seeing from the folks in the community, from the folks you're in touch with?
There's a lot of overwork happening among the people who are still in. The people that I support are doing double duty. So I'm trying to make sure to help how I can with them.
Yeah.
And then my friends who are still in government. It's I did so much work yesterday that I went to bed at 9:00. And then the question of how long are they going to be working? How much funding do they have? And they're already burned out. That's a lot of what I'm seeing.
I appreciate that. I've got a whole bunch of different questions that we can run through.
Yeah.
I want to get to We the Builders, but I want to build us up to that and have folks understand your trajectory into it, because as the name and face behind We the Builders, obviously there's a lot of other folks that are volunteering and publishing, some anonymous, some not anonymous. but you've sort of been the driving force behind it. I think it's important for folks to understand you a little bit more and where you're coming from. So I'd love to hear a little bit about more of your background. I know that you were an engineer, particularly focusing in testing, which is super near and dear to my heart. I studied and grew up in the test-driven development space, and would love to hear, what was your career trajectory pre-government, pre-USDS? How did you even get into engineering, get into testing?
Getting into engineering was the weirdest part. I have an education degree.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So like curriculum development, all that stuff does apply. Like I could draw clear lines between those things. But so I actually got lucky. I landed in engineering, such as it was, as a DoD contractor in 1999 when I was 20. I was like almost an actual child. And I started as a secretary and I never left.
Wow.
And I got my degree right after 9/11. I was a student teacher that day. But I got my degree right after 9/11. I was on the Naval Research Lab the week of 9/11. So like my start was as a contractor before I knew that I understood how government works, because I was supporting contracts.
Wow.
I was doing the work of the contractor, sending all the documentation as a young person before I was even 22. And then I was the kid who could do anything. I did graphic design, I did security, I did engineering, I did whatever they needed. And I did that for 12 years. And I knew I was just learning. And I was fine with it. And then one day I'm like, nope, I'm not fine with this anymore. And it was, maybe you'll appreciate this. Drupal came into government and they're like, Drupal will solve everything. And I'm like, no, it won't.
Yeah.
I have to leave now.
Oh, wow.
I walked out. And then I specialized in front end for a while. And I was like on the leading edge of JavaScript, right as like Angular and React, right as Angular and Ember were like the thing.
Yeah.
And then I fell off the leading edge and I've never come back to it.
Yeah.
But like that was the point when I learned testing, where I got to work at a newspaper and lead their entire front end I was actually 2 newspapers off of one code base, before React, before components, before web design systems. So cool.
That sounds awesome.
That was the coolest job.
Wow.
But that's like, so I meandered through my first part of my career, and then I was front end. And then I got tired. I became the girl who made things pretty. And I'm like,
Ugh.
don't want it.
No, yeah.
And I said, let's go do testing now. And so I went into full testing focus and learned like a whole bunch of other programming languages at that point, learned how to do testing, then shifted into site reliability for a bit, and then got tired of doing startups. And I was like, I have to go back to government. And I kind of knew when I left, I would come back.
Yeah.
When I got over my eye rolling about Drupal,
Yes.
which maybe I still am eye rolling about Drupal.
That's really funny.
Or like that cargo cult problem, right?
Yes.
That problem of this thing will solve all the things.
Yes, exactly.
We know it won't.
Yeah, yeah. So you had the experience in government at the very beginning of your career, this middle period, and then coming back to government.
Yep.
In the sort of middle period, what were some of the projects that you were most proud of, and why is it mazemonster.com?
Good job. Maze Monster. Should I start there and go back, or do
Yeah,
you want me to go
sure.
forward? Maze Monster was because during COVID, my kids were like 2 and 4. Like, Mommy, can you make me a maze? And they were all about mazes, and especially my 4-year-old. And I was learning Ruby at the time, and there was a book about making mazes. Jameis Bucks was the author, and he had it all in Ruby. And I was like, but I want to put this on the web, because I had a version of, from the command line, it would generate an ASCII version of a maze, and my kids, I would print them off.
Sure.
And I was like, no, we need to put this on the web. And then I could just push one button, or have them do it on my phone while I'm trying to work, thanks COVID. And I did, and I made a little mobile first version of this, and I took it from Ruby to JavaScript or TypeScript, and that's why that happened.
I love that.
So fun.
That's
and
very cool.
It was a great way to build my TypeScript, but also here, push the button, print out the maze, and literally push the button, and the maze, it goes right to the print dialog.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Because they were little and they needed it. So
that's very good.
So that's why Maze Monster. But before that front end work, at the newspaper at a time when DevOps was just becoming a thing. And there was this whole like minor short-lived subspecialty of front-end ops. And I was like, that's my spot. And so being able to deploy two newspapers off one code base, build all the artifacts, have it load on a phone, because that was early mobile first too.
Yeah. Wow.
What a freaking cool job.
Wow.
And I had a side hustle of like working with the editorial team because they were injecting JavaScript on my pages. My pages. I was the front end. I was like, they're mine. But so I was working with them, and I was kind of not telling my technology colleagues what I was up to, which was really nothing other than teaching them how to do it right and encouraging them to use the tools that we had built to tell their stories well. And they had a good reason. They wanted to be like the Washington Post and the Times and all the other larger organizations that were bringing visual storytelling into a new era. And they're like, we want to do that too. We're going to go, build our own JavaScript stuff to do that. And I'm like, hold on. Yeah. Can we talk about this, please? Because I want to build you tools. I want to do this too. And that was my side hustle. Or maybe that was my main job. I don't know. One of them was the side hustle. One of them was the main job.
Sure. Wow.
But I was really proud of that work.
That sounds really cool. Wow.
So much fun.
Can you say what the newspapers were that you were working with?
I was at the Chronicle of Higher Education and the Chronicle of Philanthropy.
Yeah. So a way to still merge your education background as well.
A little bit, yeah. Although higher ed is a whole other thing. But it was fun to be on their masthead with my friends with advanced degrees. They're like, hey, your name's in there. And I'm like, I know. It's kind of cool, isn't it?
That's awesome. Wow.
So that was, and I would go back to media in a heartbeat. Actually, I kind of did.
Yeah, in a way. That's right. Yeah. I want to hear a little bit more about this education engineering combo, because it's not one I've seen before, I think, of someone that comes from an education degree background that then becomes an engineer, and a highly technical one at that. Testing and DevOps is deep in the weeds.
Yeah, it is.
What is it like for you to bring that education background into your engineering work?
Well, part of curriculum is breaking stuff down to be developmentally appropriate for the age group you're working with. But most of the time now I want to work with adults. So it's not quite developmentally appropriate more than skill set appropriate. But the idea of breaking stuff down into parts that are consumable for the audience is basically engineering as well, because computers need it very, very discrete and very, very concrete, very literal. So that part actually made sense to me from the beginning. But then the cool part was, I don't know about your career trajectory, they don't train managers in every place I was. And I spent 10 years and 5-10 years in startups. Please, you're a manager now.
Yes.
Good luck.
Yep.
Have fun.
Yeah.
I didn't have that problem. I could come in and I knew how to coach people. I knew how to mentor because I had already been trained to work with children. And so that made it easier, and I got lucky. And also it turns out I love it. So when I became a manager, I'm like, yes, I get to teach these people how to do a thing. And I mean, I've had like super senior engineers who I was coaching on like soft skills, but I was also working with very, very new to the field people as well. And so teaching, how do you break a ticket down? How do you understand the problem? How do you know that this is the right problem to solve? Those are fun.
Yeah.
And that was the cool part about then when I got to USDS, was working with the non-technical stakeholders.
Yes.
And teaching like a little bit of technical thinking.
Yeah.
And questioning and bullshit detection. And so that was great fun. And the stakeholders enjoyed it because I think most of the time I probably failed at times, but I didn't talk down to them. And so I was like, okay, like here's how this is. Let me know if I'm skipping steps or I've lost you. And they were more willing to work with me. I think not than the average, but like they were more willing to work.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how it kind of intersects for me. And then on the testing side, it's correctness and understanding are kind of similar. So like, was it working as it's expected?
Yeah.
Did the kids know roughly what they need to know in order to say they understand fractions at the level that we are at today?
So I love the piece particularly about the way that you're able to talk to folks as a technical person working with non-technical people, because I think USDS is a lot of that kind of work, and technical in the sense of like technology technical. Obviously, you're working with people who are very technical in their particular area of expertise. I'd love to talk about how you got back into government, how you got into USDS. What was the pathway? How did you choose to go back into government at that moment? And why did you choose to go into the U.S. Digital Service, of all places?
That was opportunity. I had a connection to a recruiter, and I interviewed, I think, 3 times before. Not that the first time I withdrew. The second time was they didn't have. I think I passed min-quals, the minimum qualifications, but I don't know for sure, because when I did finally arrive in 2022, somebody who interviewed me in 2020 said, "Hey, you're finally here," and so I gather that meant I passed mid-quals. It's like, "What took you so long?" I'm like, "I don't know," but here I am. But that was very funny to like then get to meet, and I got to interview with Dave Methvin, who was one of my, when I was on like getting close to the leading edge of JavaScript, I got to like work on the jQuery project. So I'm like, hey, this is amazing. I was like, how do I know him though? It took me a long time. And then I'm like, oh, wow. And I passed.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Some very cool people come through the digital service.
But it was in that moment when I was like, oh, US Digital Service. No, I need to go there. It was like this thing where it's like, I have to go back to do that.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that matters is that, I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, why do we choose to give up a salary that we can make in the private sector? Why do we choose to do this kind of work, which is deeply frustrating work at times, maybe more than not? Why do we choose this? It's because we want to make a difference. And I was like, well, what they're doing, the healthcare.gov thing was amazing. Because I remember where I was when I first heard about healthcare.gov crashing in 2014, was right outside of Chronicle of Higher Ed. And I was like, oh, typical. Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah.
But I'm like, can I do more of that? And it was during COVID when I interviewed the second time, and I'm like, I see what they're doing with the COVID tests.
Yeah.
I see what's happening. I know that they're involved in some way, because all of this technical stuff, like the more you're in a place and you become an expert, you can like kind of feel it. You can feel what's happening underneath.
Yeah.
No matter what your specialty is.
Yeah, like you saw the products being launched and you were like, that's an expert that is doing this work. This is a team that knows what they're doing.
Right. And you can almost feel what kinds of technologies. Like at least that's how I I go on a website. I'm like, oh yeah, this is React. Oh, this is probably ASP.
Right.
Oh, look, this is from 1999.
Yep. So you joined USDS. What were some of the things that like surprised you when you got there? This was, before you had joined USDS, you were in government, but as a contractor.
Yes.
This was your first time as a federal employee. Is that right?
Yes. It was first as a Fed, that side.
Yeah.
Surprises? That things were still felt kind of the same.
Okay.
But not. Like that we were still dealing with some of the same problems. I hadn't run across Drupal yet, but I assumed it was around.
I promise you it was around.
Oh yeah, I know. I have a great punchline. I'll work my way towards on that. I have an amazing punchline.
Oh, good.
But just wait. It's coming. So the other surprise, is that it was better than I thought. Like I thought coming in it would be like just like people when Doge came in, they're like, these people just sit around and do nothing. And it's like, no, they're working their asses off. They are trying to make change. The policy people I got to work with in the beginning and throughout my tenure, and the people in the technology side, they were doing the best with what they had, both knowledge and funding, what they could procure. So my surprise was on both sides, like, oh, it's still the same. Darn.
Yeah.
And also, it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah. So. Okay.
Also, I mean, it wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise how hard it was still to do my job. Like when I was doing recruiting for USDS, they would put me, in recruiting calls, or when I would go to a conference, I'm like, it's kind of like your problem space as an engineer used to be like here. Now it's the entire space, and you get to do it with one hand tied behind your back because your assets are crap and security, and so now you get a huge problem space to solve within.
Oh wow,
So.
I like that. I think that's so accurate. My experience at USDS was I came in very early career. I'd only been in the private sector for a few
Wow.
years, and getting dumped right into Homeland Security work, I was just very like, this is a lot bigger than I had experienced before. And so it was very, you see a lot more.
Yes.
And exactly as you said, you have, in a way, a hand tied behind your back because you don't have the tools, the technology, the large, massive amount of technical resources that are around. On the other hand, USDS is very unique in that you do have a power that you can wield that
Yes.
is very uncommon in other places. Now you got to work on a ton of different projects. If I counted right, let's see, SNAP, Medicaid, direct file, disaster relief, small business, refugee admissions.
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
I was the technical owner of USDS.gov
No kidding.
for 2 years.
Wow.
I mean, maybe I still am. They didn't replace me when I left.
Sure, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, what is ownership?
What is ownership?
But that was actually the interesting thing because when I came in and took that project over, we did a little overhaul with the USDS comms team, and from a using the problems, the width of the problem space.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, you own USDS.gov now, and I'm like, but it wasn't official. Like nobody's like, yay,
Sure.
Kate's in charge.
Yeah.
But also there was no content owner.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you're thinking about how to set people up for success,
Mm-hmm.
the thing I ended up doing was kind of going underground and be like, I'm not the content owner.
Right.
This team is. They need to be empowered.
Yeah.
I will deal with all the technical stuff.
Yep. Yep.
But I want to empower this team over here
Yeah.
to own and publish within the constraints
Right.
of which there were many,
Mm-hmm.
but empowering them. And that I was kind of proud of that. That's the only thing that you missed was this weird, like kind of internal thing, but it also
Yeah.
felt really important to me.
Yeah, I mean, USDS.gov, I think a lot about the different things that USDS published over the years. And I think that with We the Builders, you're taking on a lot of the work of, there's so much energy to write and to produce things.
Oh my gosh.
And there was never enough time to do it when you were in USDS.
Yeah.
And so to have a website that was very much like you publish something there, people will see it.
Yeah.
And, I think that when we were coming up with the values, the like 6 main values, and publishing
Were you there
those,
for that?
I was there at the tail end of that process where
that's
they
so
were
cool.
finalizing them, which was very cool. Putting that online wasn't just a sort of like, this is who we are. It's also like a signal to so many other people that have now taken those same values and incorporated them into their own organizations. Same thing. The playbook was there before I got there,
Yeah,
but same thing
playbook
with the
was
playbook.
early.
Yeah, very early, and so many things that got published over the years. So being able to be the owner of that website, I mean, was a critical resource.
Yeah.
I haven't honestly visited it recently, so I couldn't tell you
No.
what the current state is now.
No, I haven't either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was what I liked about what we did is we set it up to make it easier for them to publish.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping that would then make it easier for the content process that ran parallel to the technical process.
Yeah.
Would be easier for them because I wanted them to be able to publish what they felt was important, again, within the constraints of a government communications organization, which is heavily constrained.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's another freedom that we have now is the ability to publish what we want with
Right.
We the Builders is to we do have a content process,
Mm-hmm.
but it is less constrained
Yeah.
by, I mean, honestly, what I think is a huge mistake in government, which is to not talk about our work, to not talk about the victories. There was so much reticence there, and I worried about that. I worried, and honestly, I think that's part of why we're here,
Mm-hmm.
why we are having this week, is that we're not celebrating the things that government does do.
Yeah. Yep. You got to see a huge cross section of government with all the projects that I listed, plus USDS.gov, where I'm sure you also, by virtue of people writing about their work or publishing things, you got to also experience larger things. What was it like to just get such a massive view of this cross section of government over the course of 2 years? You were in so many different projects, so many different agencies.
Respect.
Mm.
Everybody knew that things weren't how we wanted them to be. So even though they were constrained, like my colleagues in one agency were underfunded, didn't have good tech, didn't have good procurement support, and they were doing everything they could. And like I was so impressed with like when you're a problem solver and you come in and you just have a mess on the floor, if you can make your best of that, that's kind of how it felt sometimes with them, that they were not set up for success. And that was just one of the agencies, but it was so much respect for what they could do, but also seeing the potential, but being constrained by the rules. And yeah, that was the biggest thing that I came out with. I was like, no, my earlier notions, my Kate in her 20s notions of these people being lazy, no, that's not happening. It's that hard. It really is that hard.
Yeah. Interesting to compare it to your first time in government from the contractor side to the second time and seeing it from the inside.
Well, Anna's a 20-something.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Do you feel like there were particular moments that you saw where you were like, this is something that I wish that younger Kate could have seen to understand what these people are going through?
Every day. Because it was kind of obfuscated when I was in my 20s.
Sure.
It's like, I don't understand why we can't just ship something.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, authorization to operate. And, like I understand why we do this. It's the same when We the Builders published one of my articles, because most of the time I published a few that were listed as anonymous early on, but very few. Most of them were by everybody else. But one that I did publish with my name on it was the combination when IRS signed an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with ICE to share and combine those two databases.
Yeah.
20-something Kate would be like, what's the problem?
Right.
Why not? But understanding the nature of the data structures and why combining the data that ICE has with the data that IRS has is risky for the individuals who are out, here in the DC area, walking the streets and living their lives, getting through the day.
Yeah.
Some of my children's friends, their family, it could be impacted by them trying to merge those two databases and create a source of truth of it.
Yeah.
Because those two data sets are not going to be easily combined.
Yeah.
No matter, unless everybody has exact data, which isn't the case.
Yeah. So you were in USDS for about 2-ish years, and you left, was it October 2024?
Yes, so about a year ago.
Okay, about a year ago now. Yeah, that's right. Notably, that was pre-election.
Yes.
So what were the reasons that you decided to leave USDS and leave government at that moment?
Partially my term was up.
Okay.
And also I sort of wanted to go through a transition, but I also was aware that it was very possible that I wouldn't want to stick around if the election went for Trump.
Sure.
Given that USGS during my era was definitely positioned as somebody who did the administration's priorities. That did shift at the end of the fiscal year last year with USGS moving to a different model, a cost recoverable model, which was similar to what AT&F had, and a lot of contractors, I guess, could be classified like that as well. But I left because my term was up, and it felt like it was time to go. Like the thing that we've talked about it, you and I, separately from this, about burnout and the exhaustion that comes with trying to wrestle with a bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That just consumes your energy.
Yeah.
Oh, you want an authorization to operate? All right, we need 5 more hours of pedantic work. Keep going.
Yeah, if only just 5.
Feed me your energy.
Yeah, we spent how many years trying to get Google tools approved at Homeland Security? It only happened years after I left. But burnout's real. Burnout's real. And like we talked about before, it's almost ingrained as part of the expectations of the job in a way that is fascinating and unhealthy and realistic and
why do we do this to ourselves?
Why do we do this to ourselves? And challenging and all sorts of things that I think in reflection there's going to be a lot of folks that think through different models in different ways. Not that we could have done it differently, but to do it differently in the future perhaps.
Yeah.
So between leaving USDS, which was October, and starting We the Builders, which was February. What'd you get up to?
I went to a state level contractor.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Ran their engineering org.
Oh, nice.
For a little while.
Okay.
And that job ended in March. And it was interesting to land at the states because I hadn't done state level work, and it was so cool because they were that much closer. Like I was able to support an individual, which when I was on direct file, I did have a front end incident. I was on the on-call team. I begged and begged and begged to be on on-call. And the very first day, they're like, yeah, we're seeing something funny on this page in the front end. And then I was like, oh no, that's an incident. And 16 people got stuck at this one point. It turned out to be an issue with a drop-down component. But it was like, oh, and I got to run the first client-side incident on my first on-call shift.
Amazing.
Like, that's one of my interview stories.
I love that. That's awesome.
But that was 16 people, and I don't know who they were.
Yeah.
The person at the state level that I got to work with, I knew who this person was and their situation. Turned out to be an issue with login.gov because the state I worked with did use login.
Yeah.
But so getting to work at the state level was cool because I got to see it more up close. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I've done a little bit of work at the state level, not as much as I'd like to do. And it's cool. I mean, the more local you get, the more connected it feels with the immediate community around you.
Right.
My start in civic tech was at the city and county of San Francisco.
Oh, cool.
And I loved being able to work on something that was just like affecting the people right around me. And then I popped up to the federal level and kind of
You're like, oh, wow.
dug in.
I can
in a
see
way.
some people over there.
Exactly.
They're very tiny.
Yes. So what was let's get to We the Builders now. Finally,
Yeah.
we've done the journey, and we can dive into it. November election.
Yep.
January inauguration.
Yep.
February 15th, I think, is the first publication from We the Builders.
That was the day we started, yes.
The day you started, okay. What, for folks that might not know, what's the elevator pitch of We the Builders?
I've got 4 of them in my head. I'm like, which one am I leading with?
Let's do them all.
I wanted, in the beginning, we wanted to explain what federal workers actually do because there's so much misinformation and so much just assumptions. So we partially wanted to tell those stories. We also wanted to explain what's happening technically because at the time the reporters were not getting it right. It's really hard to get it right. I wasn't trying to fault them. They're not technologists. So it was two-pronged. It was telling those stories, explaining what kind of jobs people actually do, and explaining the technical landscape in a way that only a technologist who's been trained to de-jargon everything could do, because it's just too complicated. We're going to do it. We're going to modernize the mainframe in 2 months because these people have been spending the last 20 years doing it and they can't. Oh, all right. How cute.
Yeah.
Let me convene a group of, and it was really let me convene a group of mainframe engineers from across government, which is how our mainframe article happened. It was, I think, 10 people working with a content strategist from 18F. Who wanted to write this article.
Yeah.
And they worked for 3-4 weeks. That was our best article, in terms of performance.
Yeah.
Was this very technical but accessible.
Yeah.
Because the content, she's just amazing what she could do with that.
I mean, most of the technical, we're going to rewrite everything, we're going to replace everything.
In a weekend.
In a weekend, exactly. We could do this easily. Yeah, of course, it's not going to happen. But it does still stoke fear, and it does still stoke. It also shows priorities of what they are going to try and do.
Strategically, yeah.
Right. So We the Builders launches. A part of it is explaining in non-technical terms the technical realities behind what Doge is saying, and so in a way, it's a Doge counterpoint, counter perspective. As it has evolved, I've seen articles published on We the Builders, how many articles do you have published now?
Over 40.
Okay, which is incredible.
And some newsletters, a bunch of newsletters.
Articles range from technical descriptors of COBOL and procurement, so
not technology technical, but technical, and like, here's the thing about how government works, design.
Yes.
Let's break down the design
Or
of
the plain language.
exactly, to advocacy slash activist things like, hey, here's a Don Moynihan published an article or republished an article on there about how you can submit public comment.
Yeah.
To political. Some of the articles, one of the ones that I read was about, are we living in a police state? And I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on that evolution of We the Builders over those months, how it went from, let's describe from the perspective of technologists what we think of what Doge is doing, to a broader platform that has become, I don't know if you would describe it as a resistance platform, but in a way it's become a sort of counterpoint to, still from the technologist's perspective. But what was that, a conscious evolution? Was that something that you chose from an editorial perspective? Was it a change in your desire for what the impact that you wanted the platform to have was?
It was, Doge was an easy counterpoint. And when Doge stopped being quite so public with what they were talking about.
Right, when Musk left, effectively.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about him, but yeah, exactly. But it really was that, when he stopped wanting to be the center of attention. So when Doge stopped being as public, when Elon Musk left, it just became harder. And also there is a level of integrity that we wanted to have. Like, the voice was like urgent, but still making sure that we were doing our diligence. We weren't going to publish something if we didn't have the sourcing. And that also meant that sitting on a lot of information that I knew, that my team knew, that we knew we couldn't talk about, because there were people who mentioned it, but I'm not outing people.
Of course.
For instance, the IRS article, I knew a lot more than what I wrote. And I just tried to address things in a way that was understandable, but was within the bounds of what I knew before. And so it was protecting people as best I could. But to the evolution, a little bit was a shift, because it became harder to easily talk about what was happening. It was also a shift in tone, because what was happening on the like in my life, and it wasn't only me, but this was kind of the people and who we became, like, staffing wise. Is I started connecting with alternative institutions or parallel institutions, with people who are doing the alt accounts. Not alt National Park Service, they're hucksters, but there are some very legit alternative institutions, people who are vetted to know that they are working in or worked in the agencies they represent. And that's elevator pitch number 2, is we wanted to be the communications organization for parallel institutions. Give a platform for the very good information that Alt CDC was posting, or USAID's various organizations. They have so many in their diaspora because they were axed so early. That was elevator pitch number 2. We wanted to make sure that information that wasn't getting out from the government could get out via these other conduits. So the move into, like, thinking more politically, thinking more philosophically, was paired up with us having paired up with people doing this kind of work. Because there's basically, one of the people that I work with was talking about, we're making a new field entirely. Like, instead of international development, is it domestic development? Is it democracy preservation? Like, what are we doing right now? And so there's a wide coalition of organizations that are both coming up and bringing their focus to this space, trying to come together and figure out how we're going to both operate right now and look into the future. So that was the evolution. The undercurrent of it was connecting with all of these people who were doing policy work, and making sure that they, like, as a technologist, that I show up and I want to build platforms. I want to make it so you can put your word out there. Like, I don't need to be the front man of that. I turned out I ended up being that, but I don't need to be. I want to give other people the voice. And that's really what I'm about. Like in the end, I want you to thrive. I want you to be able to speak up.
Yeah.
So that's elevator pitch number 2.
Yeah.
That was what we were moving towards.
Yeah.
And then we burned out.
Yeah. I know that you all took a break in August.
And still kind of breaking now.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I wanted to come back to what are you hoping to do in the next evolution for We the Builders?
That's a good question. From the beginning, we had a product strategy very, very, very early.
Yeah.
We have
I expect nothing less.
Oh my god. Well, it was partially a learning for me from one of my projects that I didn't get a strategy together quick enough, and it made the project much harder. So that was partially a learning, but also you get a team full of product managers. It's like, let's make a product strategy. And it was actually fantastic because we could refer back to it. It was a foundational document. But part of the foundational document was an exit strategy, which also feels very USGS.
Yes, it does.
Because we always want to get out.
Yeah.
I was like, how are we getting out of this work? Because we're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And so we have the exit strategy. And the exit strategy is on my mind. Like, has our moment passed? Is on my mind. But I don't really know, and we're figuring that out right now.
Okay.
Because August was very needed.
Yeah.
And it also felt right that we need to come out and model a behavior of rest.
Yeah.
But it turns out, at least me personally, needed more than 1 month.
Yeah.
But the team is starting to agitate for the next steps. And I need, anytime you're building a startup, you need to scale and change how you work. And that's kind of the place we're at. What does the next evolution of this look like is also the next structure of an organization.
Yeah.
Especially volunteers.
Yeah. And so maybe to wrap us up and full circle this, come back to the first question of how are you now and what are you seeing now from the perspective of what's coming with We the Builders and the problems that you're seeing in the administration and in civic tech as a whole. Is there a problem that is calling you that you're like, that's the thing I really want to work on, and We the Builders is the platform, or there's some new concept that might come up in the future?
That's hard. It's hard. It feels very cloudy right now.
Yeah.
That's the feeling that I have. It's like, what do we do? Because the punchline of it all is we do have a platform, and it's in Drupal.
Is it really?
Yes.
That's fucking hilarious. That's so good.
It was amazing because my tech lead came to me and he's like, we need to build a platform, and I have a lot of experience because what they did at the Veterans Administration was they have a single Drupal instance. As I'm told, I do not have direct information, don't quote me. One single Drupal instance that serves all the VA hospital comms units. And my tech lead came and said, we could do something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think being able to stand that up and cut ourselves over to it, which was what we were doing in July, we hadn't gotten cut over yet ourselves, and then offer it up to various organizations. Like that would be the one thing I'd want to do from the tech side,
Mm-hmm.
because then that gives people a platform to start to make those parallel institutions into something that is sustainable, that's findable.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and then also to stand up our comm side again and figure out what our next voice is.
Wow.
Like if we want to do that, but that's somebody fund me, not me, but like the organization.
Yeah.
I need to separate me from the organization.
Yeah.
But somebody fund We the Builders, and we got this.
Mm-hmm.
And we can then share out the information that CDC is not sharing. We can share what's happening in disasters
Yeah.
that FEMA is constrained by.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to do with We the
Mm-hmm.
Builders. That's where I want to turn our continued. We were already turned that way, but to start to move that way again.
Yeah.
That would be it. But also, I'm feeling a pull to just rest.
I think that's important.
It's you walk around and you just sometimes you're like, oh God, like I was walking by a metro station and saw 2 teams of National Guard people the other day, and I'm like trying really hard not to stare them down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because I don't want them in what I consider my city.
of course. Yeah,
I don't want people to feel like this is necessary to feel safe.
yeah,
So I don't know how we do this, but we need a group of people working together,
yeah,
and that's the next evolution, should there be one.
yeah,
And if we lay down the mantle and just say we're going dark until we're ready,
yeah,
which is kind of what we already said. But if we don't pull ourselves out, that's also okay,
sure.
because there's other people fighting like hell,
Mm-hmm.
and I am so grateful for them.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to be in so many groups that watch them do the work, even as I'm like, I'm gonna go take a nap.
Yes. Well, I, for one, am grateful for the work that you and all the folks behind We the Builders have done. And you all heard it here first. Kate loves Drupal. And
Maybe. I mean, I like a content process that works.
Yeah.
I'm like totally eyeing the camera, like,
uh-huh,
let me hedge here.
Yeah.
I don't, it's never about the actual technology.
Of course.
It's always about the solution.
Yeah.
So that's the full, there you go. There's your punchline for
There's
the
the punchline. Yeah. Okay.
That was great. I
Yeah.
like totally worked that punchline all the way through.
Loved it. Well, thanks for hanging out.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Folks, if you haven't done it yet, go check out We the Builders at wethebuilders.org. Kate and her team have curated an excellent set of blogs, posts, and resources. Huge thank you to Kate for her time and for doing the hard work. If you're interested in hearing more about Kate's journey, or you want to talk with her yourself, consider joining as a TPG member today to get access to the live Q&A. You can find more information in the description of this recording or at our website at publicgood.tech. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.